Hello, economics. This is Mr. Stark. Apologize, the video last night, my microphone wasn't working right, but I did a test on this, so everything should be good to go. So today, actually yesterday, when you see this, it'll be Thursday. I'm recording it on Wednesday. You learned about demand, which, as I mentioned, is one of the tougher subjects that students normally in my regular class in person struggle with. So I've graded a lot of your practice already, and I want to go over a couple things just to clarify some things that I see that are being missed frequently. So I am going to share the screen and actually put up the actual practice assignment, the actual practice sheet that you had from last class. So that should be popping up right now. So these are some of the questions. These are the only 4 graphs. Now, I want to highly urge you, if you haven't watched the videos yet that I posted, please watch the videos. They're kind of in place of us having an in-class lecture and conversation on them. I mean, this is an independent study, so part of your job is to watch the videos as well. So please make sure you're doing that and going through the PowerPoints. With that said, let me just go through some of the more important sticking points that some students have. So if you look at the screen here, these are the only 4 graphs you really have to worry about with demand. And really they're divided up into two types. There's A and B, and then there's C and D. And you'll notice that A and B just have one demand line, and C and D have 2 demand lines. So let me start with A and B. So A and B are examples of what's called change in quantity demanded. Now, what that basically means is that there's been a change in price of a product. So movie tickets went up, gas went down, waffles went up in price, laptop computers went down in price. That is the only scenarios that graph A and B deal with, is a simple price change. Okay. And it's easy to tell which one's which because graph A has an arrow going down the demand curve. And if you saw the PowerPoint, you know that the vertical axis actually is the price axis going up. So if an arrow is going down the demand line, that means price is going down. If an arrow is going up the demand line, price is going up. So any scenario that simply has a change in price going up or down, you're going to be dealing with either graph A or B. So for example, for number 9 here, gas prices increased. Simple price change. Increase means price is going up. That would be graph B, an arrow going up the demand line. Number 11, scroll down, movie tickets become cheaper. I wish, but I still use it as an example. That means prices are going down. We're looking for a graph that has one demand line with an arrow going down. That's graph A. All right, that's change in quantity demanded. Again, any scenario that's a simple price change, price going up or down, is going to be either graph A or B. Now, it was important that you watch the videos and looked at and did the reading as well, because the reading it particularly went over the 6 demand determinants. Let me get my hands in there. 6 demand determinants. They are, let me get them off the top of my head here. Consumer taste, income, market size, substitute goods, complementary goods, and consumer expectations. That's 6. Now, I urge you to reread the book pages and or look at the videos if you want more of an explanation as to what those are. But those 6 deal with what's called a change in demand, not change in quantity demanded. That's a simple price change. Change in demand is caused by one of those 6 determinants, shifters, factors. They're called a lot of different things by different teachers. So for example, for number 8, it says the popularity of comic books increased. Well, price isn't changing. So it's not A or B because it's not mentioning price changing. So it's got to be one of those 6 determinants. Well, if you go through them, you see that the one that deals with things becoming more or less popular is consumer taste, or consumer preference is another name for it. And several you got it right on there. Now, if we were in my class in person, I'd have you chant this little phrase until it was stuck in your head. But an easy phrase to remember: left is less, right is more. So if there's a shift to the left, a new demand line to the left, that means less demand. A shift to the right, that means more demand. So left is less, right is more. So graph D, as in dog, shows less demand. Demand's going down, it's decreasing. C, right is more, demand is increasing. So if for number 8, if the popularity of comic books increased, that means the correct graph is C. And again, it's consumer taste is the determinant or factor of those 6 that I just mentioned. Now, number 9 is a change in quantity demanded. So it's not dealing with any of the determinants. It's a simple price change. We already did that one. So let's go to number 10. It's a little tricky, but I'm going to talk you through it. So demand for half creamer changes when coffee becomes more expensive. Now, you might think, well, Mr. Stark, it mentions coffee becoming more expensive. So that means it's got to be a price change, which would be A or B. I like your reasoning, but that's not correct, because we're looking at what's happening to the demand for half creamer. Now, half creamer on one hand, you have coffee on the other hand, they're what's called complementary goods. That determinant states that what happens to one happens to the other. So let's think about this. If coffee becomes more expensive, if we were in my classroom, you'd smell coffee because I have my own coffee maker. If coffee becomes more expensive, less people would buy it. The law of demand, right? Hopefully you learned that in the PowerPoint and also the videos. So if coffee goes up, less people buy it. Well, what's going to happen to coffee creamer? Well, those two go together, so less people are going to buy coffee creamer as well. So we have less demand. Left is less. So that is graph D, as in dog. All right, left is less, right is more. Let's go to number 12. Actually, there is no number 12 there. That's it. Let's go ahead and go up to this example here for number 4. It mentions change in demand for surfboards in Hawaii during its high season for tourism. Well, it doesn't mention price changing, so it's got to be one of those 6 determinants. Well, Hawaii during tourism season equals a lot more people. The determinant for that would be market size. Simply says the more people there are in an area, the more demand there's going to be. The less people there is in an area, the less demand there's going to be. So think of like when the Super Bowl was in Indianapolis, I think it was 2012. You had 200,000 people from around the world coming into Indianapolis. The demand for everything went up, from toilet paper to medicine to taxis. The week after the Super Bowl, when everyone left, demand for things went down. So if you have the demand for surfboards in Hawaii during high tourist season, that's going to be an increase in demand. Everyone's going to want a surfboard. Left is less, right is more. That would be graph Y. And then finally, the last one we're going to do together, and then we'll sign off. And I do have office hours on Thursday from 1:15 to 2:15. So feel free to wait to take the demand quiz until after you go to office hours if you're not comfortable with demand. Neosporin, when there's a generic's like the Walmart brand or the Target brand or whatever you want to call it. Okay, Neosporin is like an antibiotic cream. So what would happen to the demand for Neosporin when a generic is created? Well, those are substitutes. You don't buy the generic and the name brand, you buy one or the other. So when there's a cheaper generic, like Equate brand, I think that's like the Walmart brand, more people are going to go buy that. Less people are going to buy name brand Neosporin. Left is less, graph X. And then finally, scrolling down to elasticity. and hopefully you saw the PowerPoint and watched the videos, but this states if prices go up or down, do people really buy more or less? And in some situations, they don't always. So the three questions you ask yourself if something's elastic or inelastic. It's elastic if when prices go up or down, it causes a fairly large change in people's demand. Inelastic basically means when prices go up or down, it really doesn't change people's buying that much. So for example, pizza. Well, pizza is a luxury. You don't need it, despite what my kids try to say. My 8 and 5-year-olds, not you guys. Pizza's a luxury. Prices go up for it, people are going to not buy as much. So that's elastic. It caused a significant change in demand. Child car seats that you need to be able to drive with a child in a car, that would be inelastic. Those are necessities. And there's also not really a substitute for them either. Okay. If there was a substitute, it would be elastic. No substitutes, inelastic. Pay-per-view. This is a little bit of a hard one. I need to kind of change the wording, but you really want to watch like a MMA fight or a boxing match. There's no way you can go personally see it. Pay-per-view means that your only choice is to go and purchase it on TV. So that's inelastic. And then chewing gum, the last thing you ask yourself is, okay, it goes up from, let's say 25 cents to 50 cents for a small pack of chewing gum. It doubled, but is 25 cents that much for most people? The answer is no. So that would be inelastic. On the other hand, if like, a candy bar went up from like, or let's say airline tickets went up from like $200 to $1,000, that's a lot of money for most people. That's going to be elastic. All right, hopefully this helped. And as always, hopefully you watched this video before you started. Office hours at 1:15 to 2:15. Make sure you're watching the videos. Make sure you're doing the practice assignments and looking over the PowerPoints as well. Good luck.